Coming up, Kentucky faces a costly recovery after devastating flooding.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. The United States Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, made a trip to the Commonwealth today to survey flood damage. Secretary Noem flew over some eastern Kentucky towns before a news conference in Frankfort with Governor Beshear. It was an opportunity for Secretary Noem to see the damage across eastern Kentucky from the air following that devastating flooding. It was easy to see where the high water had left a mark and lots of debris behind. After the flight, Secretary Noem met with Kentucky officials about the response so far and what's to come. Madison Carmouche has more.
That's always the most inspiring out of an event like this is neighbors helping neighbors.
Secretary Noem says after flying over damage in Breathitt County, she better understands ways to help the Commonwealth now and in the future.
I think it is important that we need to do at the federal level is a lot of education before events happen. Educating the public on what we can do to be better prepared for these type of disasters.
Governor Beshear says the quick response from Secretary Noem helped local leaders answer the needs of their communities.
And I got to talk with folks that have been through this before, who, because of the experience of going through the worst of the worst in 2022, were ready.
Secretary Noem says she hopes for FEMA to transform into a medium that works for the people.
Is that the people that are closest to the individuals that were hurt or impacted by a disaster are the ones who know what they need more than people sitting in Washington, D.C. do.
Governor Beshear and Secretary Noem agreed party lines were blurred for the benefit of Kentuckians.
That was Madison Carmouche reporting. After landing in Frankfort at the National Guard Armory, Secretary Noem took a tour of the Emergency Operations Center control room. Before that flyover with Secretary Noem, Governor Beshear made stops in Perry and Knott counties. He visited FEMA registration intake centers and met with local officials. He also talked to some folks directly impacted by the flood.
We've come a long way in the last 10 days. Things will get better. And to those that have suffered, don't give up, and we want to be there to help.
The governor said his administration is already working with the legislature to set up a pool of funding to assist with long-term recovery. Kentucky lawmakers were briefed on the damage caused by the recent flooding in Frankfort this morning. Senators Philip Wheeler and Scott Maiden represent parts of several counties inundated by the deadly and devastating flooding. Senator Wheeler says part of his law firm was damaged, but he says the devastation in both Pikeville and out in the county is something like which he has never seen.
Maybe months and years before they get their lives together, and you know, considering the already struggling economy with some of the downturn in the coal industry and other traditional means of employment, this has been very devastating to the region.
Senator Scott Maiden says there are 500 homes flooded in his 5-county district, with damage estimates already in the tens of millions of dollars. As the flood recovery is underway, people are watching as their entire lives are shoveled into piles. One outreach is working to try to help the people of Floyd County salvage some of their personal items and clean up the things that can be disinfected. Workers with Reach Out Worldwide say their mission is to show people they are not alone and they are not starting from scratch, which has been beneficial to the Scarberry family, who saw several feet of water enter their Martin home.
Once the flood had hit us, I had lost all hope.
We had lost hope that things were going to ever be normal.
But she has given that back to us, and we will be forever grateful to that foundation.
The Scarberry say once they are back on their feet, they hope to help the organization in its efforts, saying they can never repay the kindness they have received. People in Perry County are also continuing to clean up after the flood. Volunteers from all across the country, along with people here at home, are on Main Street and beyond, working to clean up mud and do their part to build back Perry County. Emergency Management Director Jerry Stacy says there have been some challenges on the road to recovery.
At the beginning, it's just, making sure we had people out of harm's way. We had somewhere between 50 and 100 water rescues the first 36 hours.
Stacy says he is grateful there were no deaths in Perry County. We're told at least 87 businesses and 300 homes in Perry County had some sort of damage. Frustrations are beginning to boil over in Floyd County as Southern Water works to restore service. Folks living in Weeksbury say they're being left with dry faucets as others around them get water. A post to the Southern Water's Facebook page says someone broke into their pump station in Weeksbury this week and set back efforts. Community members say they are doing what they can in the meantime.
I have a 88-year-old mother, and we have packed water from the school where I work at. They've had cases and cases of water, and we just pack jugs and make do.
Southern Water officials tell WYMT should they continue at the rate they are going, they hope to have service back in Weeksbury tomorrow. The Army Corps of Engineers is slowly releasing water from Lake Cumberland. Right now, the lake's elevation is over 700 feet. They are releasing a little less than a foot a day with combined hydropower and spillway releases through Wolf Creek Dam. Anyone in the area is asked to wear a life jacket because those releases can create hazardous conditions. Harlan County Judge Executive Dan Mosley is now serving as president of the Kentucky Association of Counties. He says local governments have responded well to disasters, including the recent flooding, but he says they also need to plan ahead.
We have found ourselves in Kentucky here over the last 5 years in disaster after disaster after disaster. And you oftentimes have to go back and figure out, what was I working on before when times were good? What was I working on before this disaster struck? So trying to focus on strategic planning so that county officials have a way to go back and say, well, we're going to work this, we're going to plan our work.
Mosley is a guest on our sister station WKYT's Newsmakers program, which airs this weekend.
Well, we're seeing some rain go through eastern Kentucky right now, but my goodness, it was gorgeous today. Take a look at the numbers from earlier today. Somerset, the big winner, 77 degrees. Monticello, Williamsburg made it to 75. London made it to 73. We made it to 72. And Hazard, Pikeville checked in with 71. 69 was the high in Grundy. And right now, Grundy's sitting at 46. We're still seeing 60s across the area. Look at Monticello, 68 degrees. 64 in Somerset, as well as Williamsburg. Manchester, good evening to you. You're at 49. 61 in Hazard, 62 in Jackson. So there's that rain on live pinpoint Doppler radar, especially across portions of Rowan County, going into portions of Menifee County. Rain chances will pick up as we go throughout the overnight hours. As a matter of fact, here's a look at your planner for the next several hours. You can see the rain chances continuing. We'll see that temperature of 61 at midnight. Temperatures are going to fall as we go throughout the day. So after the rain clears out, we're going to clear out. But is it just in time for the weekend? I'll let you know next, coming up in a few minutes. Steve.
All right, Eric, thank you. A Johnson County man is facing charges after he reportedly stabbed someone who was trying to break up a fight. On Monday, police were called to a home on Boyd Street in Paintsville. Police say they spoke to a man who had a large laceration on his face. The victim says he was trying to break up a fight between his sister and Christopher Stewart, who you see there. Police found Stewart hiding inside an abandoned vehicle. He was taken to the Big Sandy Regional Detention Center. A telephone pole fell, causing a hillside fire and a power outage in Knott County today. It happened on Highway 160 right in front of Hot Rod's Pizza. Kentucky State Police got the call around 4 o'clock. The Hindman Fire Department and Division of Forestry were dispatched to the fire, which has since been controlled. Residents of the Housing Authority of Knott County told WYMT they were without power for about 4 hours. No outages are being reported now. The U.S. House of Representatives budget proposal to cut trillions of dollars in taxes has some Kentuckians worried it will carry over into Medicaid, potentially cutting funding and services to those who need help with health insurance. Experts say Medicaid helps 1 in 4 Kentuckians. That's almost 1 million Kentuckians on the health plan. Dr. Sheila Schuster advocates for Kentuckians with disabilities. She said just the talk of cutting Medicaid is a real concern.
Yes, it does absolutely scare the hell out of me. Medicaid at the state level, and I'm sure at the federal level, is one of the biggest ticket items, one of the costliest programs.
In a statement, Republican Congressman Hal Rogers responded to those Medicaid concerns, saying lawmakers have no intentions of gutting any vital programs. However, he says they are cutting waste and abuse of taxpayer dollars to protect programs like Medicaid in the future. Health officials say there is a confirmed measles case in Kentucky. The adult man had recently traveled abroad. Officials say he also went to a fitness center in Frankfurt while infectious. The last confirmed case in Kentucky was 2 years ago. Now, this comes after a significant rise in cases globally and within the U.S. The first measles-related death in the U.S. since 2015 was just reported in Texas in an unvaccinated child. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, President Trump presses for deeper cuts as he continues a massive government overhaul.
And here comes the rain. Details coming up in a few minutes.